So here's the deal. It's currently 4 a.m. and I'm about to hit the road doing the 8-hour drive from New Jersey all the way to Ohio. I'm a bit exhausted and I've started and stopped this video a few times because my mind just wanders off in some semblance of a direction and then my tongue decides it wants to not progress the conversation. But I do actually have a video I want to film, and I have a conversation I want to have with you all, and I want to do it quickly and efficiently, which is something that the Quackalope channel very rarely ever does. I don't know who's to blame for that, but certainly we could find someone to point at. And that conversation is around classics, old school games. The games that a lot of us grew up playing, the games that I have people mention to me all the time when I tell them that I have a YouTube channel that does board games, that I'm a board game enthusiast. And they're like, oh, what's your favorite game of all time? And I have to do that awkward thing where I'm like, do I say the words Kingdom, Death, Monster? 3 words that are like uncomfortable on their own, let alone when you place them together in a sentence. Do I say those 3 words to this kind, nice figure in front of me, this innocent person who thinks I'm going to say, well, Risk is excellent, or tic-tac-toe has always been my coup de grace. They know about Monopoly. Sometimes Catan, Ticket to Ride. There's some family games that have entered into the wider gaming space, and we're all very aware of that because it's where many of us actually entered the hobby. But what if we go a little bit farther back? What if we take a step back to, well, some of the classics that I have sitting right here next to me. You see, I am rescuing these games. I don't know that I should be rescuing these games. We did just have an entire video talking about how, like, the collector in me doesn't want to let things go that really should be let go. And you all can tell me, I don't want to mess up my mic there, you all can tell me if this is an absolutely silly thing for me to do. But I had a friend who was just going to get rid of them, give them away, scatter them to the wind, throw them in the trash. I don't know. But they weren't going to see life much longer. And I don't like seeing board games scattered to the wind, even if they're old ancient relics of a long-forgotten, much younger little duckling just learning how to play games. I really should have thought through, like, putting these somewhere before I carried them all over, because I want to go through them. But the main conversation that I want to have with you all is around these old classics, around games like Monopoly, Connect 4, Life. Are these games still good? I guess is the question. Are they worth saving? Are they worth holding on to? Are they worth purchasing? I'm always kind of confused when I look at, this is going well for the record, I'm not stopping and starting again. It just happens to be that Connect 4 wants to fit very tightly into the ladder that I'm balancing these games on. Here, I'll have this handled in a moment. Now let's have a conversation. Look at this, look. It's called a camera. I can turn it to feature board games. Now this is an official board game channel. Look at me. Professional to the nth degree. So the conversation I want to have, I'm rescuing these, I'm bringing them home. Now, I have had some of these titles in the past. I certainly grew up playing most of these. In fact, the, April Fool's video we did on Connect 4 years and years ago still every now and then gets a nice spattering of views and comments. People not getting that it's a joke and actually engaging with the content. Now, as the joke, we did try to give the best strategic advice we could for Connect 4. But I don't know how strategic you can get. I grew up playing Monopoly and Risk and Life and Connect 4 and Othello and Operation and Sorry. I remember these games fondly, and yet as I look back on them, they certainly don't approach me with the same nostalgia that many things from our childhood would. I'm more nostalgic for the starting survivors of Kingdom Death or for that classic intro D&D scenario. And I have thoughts around why that is. It could be that the quality of the games have just increased so dramatically that these really fall into the wayside. It could be that these are so produced and commercialized and cheapened that the versions we have and we've always had haven't really elicited that luxurious, ethereal texture that's sometimes required when daydreaming about the past. It could be that they've been transformed into every single topic and medium. They've been branded and spread so widely that they haven't really had a chance to fade into the background and become things that we look back on fondly. And I know people who actually advocate very strongly for how fun Monopoly can be, or those classic Risk games they had, stretching 5, 6, 7 hours, and how satisfying it was to roll dice and conquer nations and watch as your enemies crumbled, or as you crumbled on the shores of Australia. I know people who still play games like Clue, and I could see myself playing Operation with my son as he grows up. I could see myself playing Sorry, even, potentially. Roll to Move being a intrinsic sin, and yet sometimes it just matters that you have a game on the table. That is more central at moments than what that game is. I also, though, might be being much more forgiving than I should be. So, what are your thoughts? Are these games bad? Like I often say they are or make jokes about? Are they worth saving? At least giving away to the next player? Or would it be better to let them fade into distant memory and replace many of them with new titles? Let, games like Ticket to Ride and Catan and Azul slowly take over the mantle of what people look back on with nostalgia. I already think it is shifting in that direction, but some of these are so distributed, so readily available that it's almost hard to get out from the shadow that the commercialized side of cheap plastic games, Hasbro games, it's hard to get under the shadow that's been cast by these publishers that have just turned them into either brand building opportunities and commodities, or I guess leaned into the fact that no one really knows anything but them. In some ways, I would love to see some of these games come back. Like, I don't know the title of the game. Maybe some of you can leave it in the comments, but I've heard there's a game that just delivered recently that is basically the game of life, but done in a more board gamey fashion, a more strategic, hard-hitting approach. And it sounded really cool. I'm actually interested in playing it. My friend Dennis, the fireman, was telling me that he had it and it had arrived. I'm also, would love to see a title like this. Sorry, classic little fun, roll to move, stomp on your friends. I'd kind of love to see a title like that revisited, redesigned, developed to, you might have to change the nature of the game, but developed to make it something fun and playable so that the people who look back on the games they grew up playing as children are able to actually touch them again and have a good time instead of touch them again and realize just how poorly designed or simply designed they are. Do you guys have old games? I think these classify as old games, even if you slap Harry Potter or Wicked on top of Monopoly. Every version of Monopoly is an old game. Do you guys still have copies of old games? Do you ever get games like this to the table? Is it something that really is only featured with young kids or even with your children? Are these just not games that you ever gravitate to anymore? I'm going to do a hard thing real quick. Maybe, possibly. I'm going to go through and I'm going to try to say something nice about each one of these, and then that'll be the video. I am rescuing these. I'm bringing them home. I might end up playing them. I might end up doing content on them. I think like a how to play strategy guide for Sorry would be a pretty fun video to make. Whether or not I decide that's where my time is best spent is a whole nother conversation. But for now, it feels right to put some of these old classics on my shelf. I just don't know that it is right. And I don't know that it is where we want things to be heading. So, Life. And this is the giant edition of Life. I mean, this is fancy. I don't know why anyone would want to get rid of this. Life has been remarkably accurate at predicting the sheer degree of ups and downs. There you go. I think that's a compliment for Life. Monopoly, specifically Harry Potter Monopoly. I mean, Harry Potter kind of defined, I think, I'm 32, so like anyone that's around my age, Harry Potter kind of defined our teenage, childhood, fantasy experiences and worlds. So Monopoly. I always think I'll love Monopoly if it just takes on the right skin. And maybe this Harry Potter one is just that. Maybe this one does it right. Doesn't just replace it with houses that you can take. Or maybe it's this one. A nice little song and dance. The Wicked Monopoly game. Look at that. Look at that beautiful board. Wicked was actually a pretty surprisingly good movie. I enjoyed it, and Shira enjoyed it. Monopoly specifically, though, something nice about Monopoly. This is not an easy thing for me to do because I spent a lot of time criticizing Monopoly. It was literally designed to not be fun. Something nice about Monopoly. Monopoly has opened the door for players all around the world to be very comfortable house ruling and playing from a teach and never actually reading the rulebook, which in some ways is a benefit to our space. Make the game yours. If it isn't fun in its original form, who cares? Play it how you want to play it. Go conquer some territories and build extra churches and cathedrals and hotels and distribute the money across players so that your little sister doesn't end up crying and leaving the game upset. Who cares? The games are yours. How you play them and what you do with them, that's no one's business. This is a adapted version of Connect 4, and I actually think this looks kind of fun. Connect 4 is a decent little puzzle game as it is. It's simple in its design, but good at what it does. And this is one where you have little balls that you're bouncing to actually go in, kind of like, I guess it does say shots. I was going to say kind of like beer pong. So maybe not the best game for kids, I guess. I love that it literally says shot. Like it's. Is this like pandering to adults who will play this with actual whiskey shots as opposed to the kids that they've drawn on the front cover? I like the idea of adding a little bit of dexterity to this. Seems like a good time. Actually looking forward to playing it. That's one that I think I would play with the boy because dexterity games are kind of just fun, period. Sorry. Man, I had a lot of fun with Sorry. I loved getting that perfect roll and landing on top of like my grandmother who I was playing with or my sister or my mom. And you'd shout out, sorry, like I actually have good memories of this. Looking on the back, it doesn't seem like you roll. So maybe it's Trouble that I'm thinking of. Is that the case? How do you actually play Sorry? Maybe you're flipping cards and you're getting numbers. I know it's kind of just randomly generated. It could be that. Trouble as well, though, with the big satisfying click in the center. I have good memories of both of these games. I don't think they're good games, But I did grow up loving and enjoying gaming because of them. And so that interaction, that little bit of take that let randomness do the dirty work so that you're not bullying your sister or being mean to your grandmother, but you still get that little bit of pleasure from the, I'm going to step on you and push you back and jump my own people forward. And I think actually Sorry has a little bit of strategy because you have a few of the different discs that you're deciding when and how to move. So maybe there's more of a game there than I'm giving it credit for. Connect 4, again, classic, simple, plastic. This is a game that I feel like could be made a $100 or $1,000 version of with like gold, coins that you're dropping into the slots, and I wouldn't be upset at it. I don't know that that's necessary or that it's worth making so deluxe, but if someone had a gold-plated Connect 4, 1, good for them. 2, I'd want to play it. I'd be like, man, that's wild. Can I take a coin when I win? After all, I did make a strategy video for it. Operation. A game that, when I was young, genuinely kind of freaked me out. Like, that buzz is intimidating. It adds stress. A game that teaches anxiety before you enter the medical field. That's why I'm not a doctor today, is because I was never good enough at this. It's a good game. It's a fun game. It teaches a little bit of like hand-eye coordination, a neat little dexterity game. And honestly, in the realm of dexterity games, there aren't so many other ones that have come out that I think do Operation as uniquely and well as Operation does. Maybe one of my biggest problems is that these games are, in fact, old. And that they're cheap. That they're a pile of games that someone would throw away. That we've moved on from. I think if someone came out with a version of Operation now, and we didn't have good reference for it, they tricked us, right? We forgot. I think it would be pretty popular, actually. Imagine a, deluxeified, full build Operation game produced by like Awaken Realms or something along those lines, like coming out with a innovative approach to dexterity games. Challenge yourself, like with real like shocks that go up the electric cord and lights that buzz and other things that go wrong. So like if you snip the artery while going for the arm section, suddenly the heart starts malfunctioning, so lights start spreading across the body, and you actually need to then work with the team to fix other areas of the operation before your patient dies. I feel like a version of this could be made that would be a $90 pledge or a $120 pledge on Kickstarter or GameFound, and a lot of us would do it. A lot of us would invest. A lot of us would have a really good time with it. But because it's, sort of Walmart thrift shop, cheap plastic and cardboard designed for kids style games, maybe that's one of the reasons why I look down on it or assume that it's not, worth being in the wider board game conversation. In fact, this whole video has made me kind of reflect on my initial response that I have to people who only know these titles. I need to figure out what the best way to bridge that gap might be. Maybe it starts with going back and playing and covering and having some fun with some classics that I either have exactly right on the dot or I've underestimated. What do you think? You have any of them still in your collection? I know what I think. I think that this video was not as short as I intended. I think it is now about 4:30 in the morning. I'm going to get this edited, get a thumbnail ready, and go ahead and hit the road. Now, don't worry. I got some good sleep yesterday. I knew I was going to be driving late at night. I am primarily nocturnal, and I always drive safe. So if I find myself exhausted or sleepy or not being able to focus on driving, I'll pull over at a rest stop, lean the seat back a little bit, and I'll take a 30-minute or couple-hour nap, whatever's necessary. Driving is the single most dangerous thing basically any of us do on a daily basis. So don't take it for granted. Drive safe. Don't leave at 4 a.m. if you haven't prepared appropriately. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the comments and engagements this week. I'm excited to get back to the studio, excited to produce content, excited to play some games, and yeah. Grateful for y'all. We'll see you later. Oh man, just for the record, I had Clue down here the whole time. It was a mystery, I suppose, but it was tucked down there, and I didn't grab it with the original stack. And I also had a copy of Dominoes sitting here. So Dominoes, the funnest game to play with, the best produced of the entire lot, and probably the game that I enjoy playing with the most, while still actually not knowing any of the rules. I loved Dominoes as a kid, never once knew how to actually play it, and Clue here, Clue is one of those games that makes you walk away from the actual game and go pretend like you're in a murder mystery as a kid. So there you have it. All right, I'm going now. Like I saw that and I was like, well, I can't leave that off. That's important. Some people are going to be like, he doesn't even have a clue. He doesn't have a clue at all. That's a pun. Is that a pun? I don't like it. I don't like puns. Bye.